The timing on that pour was
Oh,
perfect, sir.
you know how I normally like to look into it and make sure if I got enough and then pour a little bit more in. It's like a shtick.
Sometimes you just got to pour with your soul, man.
I just did, and it
Yeah.
damn near burnt out my nostril hairs.
Hey, man, you don't need to get one of those fancy Manscaped nostril hair trimmers if you just
get
sniff
some of
on the
these here
pure old
fumes up your
shellac.
nose.
Yeah, man, just sniff on that paint remover, that paint thinner. You know what I'm saying,
Mm,
Johnny?
mm, mm, mm.
Well, speaking of things that'll burn your nose hairs, welcome to another episode of the Black Tower Podcast, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am one of the people that we keep letting come back and do this thing for some god awful reason. My name is Andrew. I'm the Bajan Mahal. I'm Mahal the Bajans. And I am joined by my illustrious co-host.
You know, I'd like to tell you all a story. My name is Josh. I'm the Soravan Hale. And I'd like to tell you a story about when I was a young boy and I was dared to go into a haunted house in our neighborhood. And I went in there and they said, you got to go in the basement. I said, okay. I went in the basement and there was this big box. And it just, as soon as I walked in, it trembled. And I was like, oh no, this is not cool. And it popped up and started walking towards me. And I was like, oh no. And I fell back. I was walking back. I couldn't take it anymore. And I was desperately reaching for anything. And I saw something and I grabbed it and I looked at it. And it was a cough drop. And I didn't know what else to do. So I put it in my mouth and it stopped the coughing.
Stop the coughing. Howdy, wolf brother.
The coffin fell back down, and I was able to leave the house in peace.
This house is clean.
I am Josh. I'm the Soravan Mahale. It's Black Tower Podcast time. It's BTP time. It's BTPT. Black Tower Podcast time. And we're going to talk about BTPTT.
Black Tower Podcast Tuesday time.
PTTPT. If you want to see this recording live as it is made, you got to be a patron to do that. It's super easy and super cheap. For less than $1 a month, you can support a starving soldier who's being abused by a dedicated somewhere, who's being abused by an Ashaman somewhere.
Sorry, I was answering a thing.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
We were riffing. It was great, and you just.
Well, you know, sometimes you got to check in on your people. Speaking of checking in on your people, if you are listening to this live and you're in an area that may be affected by fucking pick a hurricane, because there was Helene and now there's Milton, and then there's apparently scheduled to potentially be another one right after Milton that they expect to start brewing the weekend after.
Jeez, that's insane.
Take care of yourselves. If you know somebody that may be in the affected area, be sure to reach out, check on them, make sure that they are taken care of as much as they can. We get to things are limited in what people can do, but check on your friends, let them know that at least they're being thought about. That can make a world of difference. If you are listening to this on Friday and you're in the affected areas, well, congratulations on having power and internet and or cell service.
True.
But also check on folks. We hope everybody is being safe, taking all the necessary precautions. These things are no joke. If you grew up in areas that were frequently affected by hurricanes, especially Florida, you know that it goes from not being a problem to being the biggest problem very quick. And
from 0 to 149 miles an hour.
Yeah. I think I saw a thing earlier today that already by millibar pressure by itself, just millibar pressure, not overall hurricane stuff, but millibar pressure, Milton is the second worst in recorded history in this side of the world.
Yeah, I think this is supposed to be the worst one in 100 years. It's a big
Something
one.
like that. I know. Like Tampa hasn't been directly hit by a hurricane since like 1921 or something.
Yeah, because usually they come from out the ocean. They hit the eastern coast of
Yeah,
Florida and
they hit
swipe
the East
across and go
Coast and
up.
swipe over. Because if
But
they go
this
in the
time,
Gulf Coast, normally they hit up Texas,
yeah,
Louisiana,
and this one
maybe
just
the Panhandle, but
fucking did a to the rear arch. Milton was
fucking
like, "Don't
half
mess with
right heart.
Texas," and turned around.
I mean, I don't want anybody to get hit by these storms, but you can't avoid it. At least it's not just sitting there being like, "Oh, look, Helene blazed a path for me. I'll just follow that one again." Like
True.
that. Like
There
it's already
is
going to be bad enough, but
there's a fun weather phenomenon in Utah called the lake effect, and it's where a
uh,
storm basically gets caught in a little current and just circles like this, just
mhm.
repeatedly, and you get so much snow when that happens. Like we had like 4 or 5 feet of snow in one night once when I was a
As
kid.
somebody
That
that's
was
never had to deal with
crazy.
snow, that sounds like fun. But it's the same way where people that have never had to deal with like hurricanes, and you see like the videos of like it being like super windy, especially like that relatively viral video of the dude with the long hair and the American flag out in the hurricane, just like head
Mhm.
banging. Like you're like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. It looks kind of fun. And it's like,
I don't know what HD is, but my doctor says I got 80 of them bitches. Woo!
yeah, but it's all funny. It's all like what they say. It's all shits and giggles until someone giggles and shits, and there's a lot of shit going on. I mean,
All
it's
shits and
it's
giggles.
bad. It's
All
bad. So take care of yourselves.
shit.
Uh, if you're religious, pray. If you're not, do whatever you do or don't do. Just wish people well and safety and that kind of stuff. Um, and let's just hope that nothing decides to directly target Charleston, because how much would it suck for us to have to cancel the Gathering Madness because of some wild shit? I mean,
Well, and
I would, depending on how bad it is, I'd probably still go down just to sit there and be like, "Fuck you! I spent money. I'm coming."
right,
And
for real.
like the worst case scenario, my bosses work right there in Goose Creek, which is just kind of north of Charleston. I can be like, "Hey y'all, I can't get back up to North Carolina, so I'm coming into y'all's office. Give me a seat." But in all seriousness, take care of yourselves. Check on your friends, all that kind of good stuff, and just a good rule of thumb anyway. Take care of yourselves. Speaking of taking care of yourselves, if you want to take care of your own personal well-being and just taintify your life some more, head on over to blacktowerpod.com, where you can find everything Black Tower Podcast. It's got all of our socials, our Discord, our merch stores, all that fun stuff. You know, no, no, that's a little bit too dark humor for me to make that joke. I'm not going to go there. Oh, not offensive, just poor timing. Poor timing. It's too soon.
Too soon.
But you can
Too
go and get
soon.
the merch stuff there. There's shirts, there's like pajama sets, there's pillows, there's teddy bears, all kinds of fun stuff. Um, on Spreadshirt, and then over with New Creations by Jen, you can grab a bunch of drinkware as well as a couple shirts and stuff too, and some awesome shot glasses. Go and check all that stuff out. Uh, but now it's time to get into the episode, and we're going to use a spoiler warning that we haven't really used
It's
in
time to play
a
the
while.
music. It's time to light the lights. It's
This one
time
actually
to
has
start
music.
the party with the BTP tonight. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, we're going to leave you with the registered nerd.
This is your Black Tower Podcast, Wheel of Time spoiler warning. There are neither beginnings nor endings to spoilers, but this is a beginning. If you continue to listen, you may be cursed with the knowledge yet to come. These curses may include knowledge that you are, in fact, just a farm boy. Drinking 1 glass of wine now leads to mustache pulling and a hell of a hangover. Resigning that you will never be as good with the ladies as your friends are. Realizing Androl is bae, regardless of your gender or sexual orientation. The inability to stop tugging your braid in anger, even if you don't have hair. An understanding that the word taint is simultaneously a noun, adjective, and verb. Discovering you have more titles than actual name. The BDE, also known as Big Dragon Energy, becomes undeniable. Finding yourself promising to read A New Spring and never getting to it. An uncontrollable urge to argue over inconsistent pronunciations. Knowing that hating Gone is a responsibility, not a privilege. Again, there are no beginnings or endings to spoilers, but this is a beginning. You have been warned.
Speaking of A New
Listen.
Spring, that's the book we're reading this month in our BTP Watt reread.
I mean, the book y'all may be reading, if it actually exists. I think it's just a ploy for y'all to take a month off of reading.
Is that what you
honestly.
think it is?
Yeah,
Is that what you think?
that's definitely what it is. It's what I know it is. The Earth is flat.
Sir.
Those are chemtrails in the sky, and New Spring isn't real.
I'm actually gonna. So fun story. I've actually been finishing Wicked because I need to read that before the movie comes out, and so I've been finishing that right now, and I'm like a week into the 6th month, and I need to get this done. And yeah. So, but cool thing about New Spring is that it is a very, very, very short book, and it will be easily gone through very quickly.
Meanwhile, I'm still trying to get through everything with work, kind of being a little bit nuts the last couple weeks. So I'm still finishing up my reread of Fires of Heaven. So just finished the Battle of Kyrian. So that's good. I'm at the part right now where Matt's like just sitting down chatting or looking around or whatever right after the battle and everything. Everybody's like partying and stuff. So I should be further along. There are definitely more days I could have read that I didn't or didn't read as much, but I'm only like reading at work as well. So yeah. Anyway,
Nice.
but we'll get that done, and then after that, I'll probably skim through some stuff or whatever, or just wait for November whenever we resume reading real books, not the fake books.
November.
I keep
November
like leaning
will
back
be
in the chair, like I don't know that I want to be in super quiet if I do that. I actually have to have posture when I do this. Anyway, speaking of posture, what is today's episode?
I don't know how posture ties into that. Did he have bad
I don't
posture?
either. I'm assuming that this individual has fantastic posture when he does his thing.
I mean, look, this individual is an example of someone who is overlooked and I want to say is probably very heavily influenced by Sanderson, because Sanderson loves to write the unsuspecting power, right? Like it's a quirk, right? He likes to write the quirky stuff to make you go, oh yeah, I could see how that would be a detriment. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, the weakness is a strength, and you're like, what? And if I haven't given it away by that, we have tonight's subject, and if the thumbnail and episode title didn't give it away, tonight's subject, we're talking about Andral, the Bay, the Wheel of Time goat. We love him. He's the greatest. I think he is probably the only universally loved character. Are there other universally loved characters?
I don't know that there are. I also don't know that Andral is necessarily universally loved. I don't think he's like hated. Because I'm sure there's some people that like look at Andral and are like, okay, yeah, like he can make the really cool gateways and stuff, but he's one trick pony kind of thing.
Really?
I'm sure there are. I mean,
If you don't love Andral, you're wrong. I'm just saying right now. I will make that. I know it's controversial to make definitive statements like that right now, but I'm telling you right now, Black Tar Podcast officially endorses Andral as one of the greatest characters of all time.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Just saying. That's
Yeah.
that's a thing that everybody needs to just accept right now.
Well,
that's what
let's get into ye old Andral. So, Andral is a Terraboner. He is roughly, yeah. If you don't like Andral, you're a dark.
I am. So just out
he's-
yourself, dark friends, and tell us how much you hate Andral.
So he's roughly 30 years old, square shaped, with heavy eyebrows and a full head of hair. Slightly short with an oval face and long fingers. Yeah, he's got them long fingers. He has a weathered look about him, but not like farmer weathered. And he's seen much of the world, and the wear shows on him.
He's
He
well
is
traveled.
known- Yeah, he's known to be careful, humble, and diffident. And I can't remember what diffident means as of this exact moment. What does diffident mean? Search. Diffident means lacking self-confidence and being hesitant to speak or act. There we go.
So he's kind of like.
So reserved and unassertive.
Are we noticing? Are we
don't-
noticing a theme
don't
with
do
our
that to
craftsman
Andral.
characters? No.
Don't do
Hold on.
that to Andrew.
Hold on. He is kind of like Perrin, but he's what Perrin should be. Because Perrin is so
I just don't like any
diffident, to
comparison
use
of
the
those
word
two.
of the day, that he is very often doesn't even act. Like he has to be forced. He has to be dragged by the scruff of his neck
Well,
to
I
act.
think it's different because diffident means like it's like a self-confidence issue kind of thing, and like Perrin doesn't like. I think that's part of what makes Perrin's inaction so annoying or so problematic, is because it's not a lack of confidence in his decisions. It's an unwillingness to make decisions until he's done what he considers a sufficient amount of consideration on them.
Right.
Andral hangs back because he just doesn't have the confidence to like step forward and make those decisions and stuff. He's kind of reserved to himself. It's more of like a almost shy thing than a unwillingness to act.
I guess I can see. So again, with Fires of Heaven kind of so fresh in my memory here, Perrin has this habit of getting into a situation like Battle of the Two Rivers is a beautiful example of this. Everybody's running around preparing, and he's like, hey, you guys, we have this really great idea. You guys should do this. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, yeah, we should do that. And then he goes, why did they even listen to me? I'm just a kid. Like, this is stupid, right? And this is where I feel like some of the confidence issues are, because but that's only natural, right? When you're talking to the elders, the adults in your village, and you're not an adult. And Perrin has this moment where he's like, why are they listening to me? And instead of going, oh, because I'm an adult, I am accepted as an adult in the Two Rivers. I am a man, were I a woman, I would have my hair in a braid. And he gets this whole experience. He even has the Master Alvear pouring him up a glass of brandy as he would a friend or a peer, right? And Perrin like recognizes that. He goes, oh my God, I'm being treated like a peer. I'm being treated like another adult. And in with all that, with everybody listening to him, with everybody taking direction to him, with him even being acknowledged as an adult, as a leader, he's like, oh no, it's not me. Couldn't be me, not me. I feel like Androl's got a bit of a flip. I feel like you're right with the confidence issue, right?
Yeah.
But Androl's not afraid to get in and help the soldiers and teach them how to channel. Hey, when you guys do it, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. He's the, for those of you who were in the military, he's that staff sergeant that's been a staff sergeant. He's that E5 that's been an E5 for like 8 years, and nobody messes with him because he knows his shit. But every once in a while, leadership comes down just to be like, why are you still an E5? Knowing full well that they have just fucked him over and refused to promote him because they don't like him for whatever reason. They want him to comply with some sort of standard that he refuses to comply with, which also makes him a great leader. And this is Androl's situation, because Androl's not afraid to get in there and be a leader. But Androl is afraid to sort of assert himself and show himself as a leader in a public forum, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. A quick question: which microphone are you using right now?
My main microphone.
Okay, because I just heard myself echo, and I saw that
Uh-oh.
like your headset microphone is like.
My headset microphone is off.
Okay.
How about
to make
chat?
sure, like,
Do you guys hear an echo?
testing now, testing.
Testing.
I don't hear it anymore.
You don't hear it anymore? Maybe it was, you know what? It could be that my cord got popped.
Beth is my cooperator.
As Beth is my witness.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if it pops back up, let me know.
Will do. So like to go kind of like army structure with it, like Androl to me reminds me of like platoon sergeant versus platoon leader. He's more than happy to be like in with the troops, help the troops learn how to do stuff. But when it comes to leading anybody into doing stuff, he's like, I don't want to do it. He's that person that's like, he's got like 4 PhDs and definitely has more than enough qualifications to be an officer, and everybody around him wants him to be one because they're like, oh, he knows our fight, he knows our struggle, he'd make a great officer. And he's just like, I don't really want to be like actually in charge. Like,
don't put that evil on me.
yeah. Like, I'm kind of okay with being like kind of in charge, but more like, hey, we're on the same team in charge, not you listen to me now in charge.
You listen to me.
Yeah. So, but despite all this, like, and I think this is also part of the reason why he's so happy to help try to teach other individuals like how to channel and do things. His own strength in the one power is extremely limited. Oh, let's see. I saw E4 and I was like, yep. Person who joined at an E4 and is an E7 at 5 years in and decides being a master sergeant is good, but doesn't ever want to be a first sergeant or sergeant major. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's perfect.
You're not wrong.
That is perfect.
I guess eventually, I guess that is apt because eventually, you know, Androl does, you know, spoilers, but you knew that. He does eventually get promoted to Ashaman under Logain, and it's one of his proudest moments. So I feel like that's an apt metaphor because he does want to lead, but he wants to lead an effective organization. You know, he doesn't want to lead with Taim in charge because Taim is just a nasty dude, just a bad customer.
Yeah. Not to be nitpicky, can you turn your Discord to streamer mode again?
Am I, dude? What is wrong with me today?
Hey man, it's all good. It's all good. I guarantee you it bugs me more than it will ever bug the people that listen to this, like all 5 of them.
Look, dude,
um
it bugs me, and I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't automatically switch onto streamer mode anymore. But here we go.
if you ever turn it off, you have to like you always have to manually turn it off or on, and it Discord is really quick to offer you reasons and ways to turn it off, and really bad at sitting there being like, "Oh yeah, turn it back on."
Gotcha. Yep. Well, it's on
So,
now.
yeah.
So
So
Wolfie,
anyway,
you can send me those nudes again, and nobody will know.
yeah. So to put Androl's strength into perspective, he is described as being weaker than many of the women who were turned away from the White Tower for their lack of power in channeling.
Dang. I didn't know. I knew he was
However,
weak. I didn't know he was that weak.
yeah, I honestly I didn't remember he was considered that weak in the power either. Um, however, he has an incredibly unique talent with a capital T that despite his lack of overall strength in the power, he can create gigantic gateways virtually instantly, no problem, that defy all conventional understandings of strength and the power required to open gateways. Because there is a level of strength required for the average channeler to open a gateway.
Right.
And Androl is completely the outlier that's, just beyond skilled. Like, he was born with a silver gateway spoon in his mouth.
Yeah, and not only can he open up massive gateways, the thing is when other people start learning to travel, it must be a fixed, it must be vertical, and people must have a location that they're going to. And Androl seems to be able to just make these. He makes gateways, to cut his leather. Like he just kind of goes like just like it's nothing, like the flick of a wrist, no problem. And it doesn't matter if it's on the side or on the top or diagonal or slanted, whatever. He has full command over the size, shape, duration, and orientation of these gateways. He's a phenom when it comes to gateway making.
All right. He's also like he can make multiple gateways with like no effort as well. Like most people, like it's a fair amount of effort and concentration to make a singular gateway, even once they're kind of used to it. Androl is just like, oh, you need a gateway, you need a gateway, you need a gateway. Well, here's a gateway, here's a gateway, here's another one. They all go to different spots and they're all at different angles. And then he's like, oh, this group needs a resupply, and he opens like a gateway parallel to the ground, which nobody does. And it's just like dropping supplies through it like it's nobody's business. In fact, I think he's the first one that we see that does the death gates that we see later on, where it looks like gateways are going out and spinning through Shadow Spawn and killing them, but it's really just the gateway opening and then closing, opening and then closing, and it looks like it's spiraling through them. And this is like Androl's way of just decimating Trollocs and Shadow Spawn.
That is, well, I thought Rand does that first. Loghain looks at him and is like, were you going to teach us that? And then Rand was like, oh, I'm crazy. And didn't Androl like...
You're probably right.
Androl either figured it out on his own that he could do that, or was like, saw that in a battle and was like, oh, hell yeah, I could do that. And then like, just took it, like dialed it up to like 14.
Yeah. Maybe just looking at his talent, I like erroneously assumed that he was the one that figured it out or was doing it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Rand was doing it first.
Yeah, well, because I remember there was the battle where they all started, I can't remember where it was, but they all started sensing Shadow Spawn, and Rand goes out to the railing and puts his hands out on the stones. He starts, oh no, and starts channeling. And then in his mind, he starts screaming, my hands, I can't move my hands. And he's like, what the hell? And so he like picks up his hands and all of a sudden he starts shooting fire arrows, and then Logain is watching the whole thing, and Logain is there with I want to say Dashiva and Narishma.
Mm. Oh yeah, no,
But, yeah.
Androl does other cool stuff than the Death
Oh,
Gates.
yeah.
The Death Gates are rand. So talking about how like he would use it to like cut leather and do mundane tasks. Like one of the examples we see him do is instead of reaching over, picking up tea leaves and putting them in the hot water to make tea, he opens a tiny gateway under tea leaves, gets the amount he wants to fall through into the water, and then lets the gateway close. Like, talk about over-engineered tea. The dude opened a freaking a rip in space-time. He joined two places in space-time to make his fucking tea.
Do you remember when Twitter of Time was fun? And don't come at me in the comments. You guys all know it used to be way more fun than it is right now.
Before the squabbles began.
Right. We used to make so many fun stories about all the inappropriate uses of a gateway, and I'll never forget Andral, the Bard of Time, had one where he was like, Andral could flick a booger at someone.
Right.
Or like open a gateway above their coffee and flick a booger into it. It was like, dude.
When I first joined the community, yeah. It's always fun at first, and then you're like, oh, people are kind of angry here sometimes. Could you imagine getting spitballed in like the back of the head by a gateway? Like dude's in like he's 5 classes away.
Dude, he could be like turning the opposite way too. He'd be like, oh yeah, hey teacher. No, it wasn't me. I was looking that way.
You know how like D&D has like the fucking like dissonant whispers thing?
Yes.
This dude could just open a gateway and like whisper in your ear through it, and then just like, bruh. Fucking terrifying.
Dude, that would be great. Like opening up gateways to wake people up. Hey, wake up.
Yeah. But some of the stuff he does in battles that show, so he's known for compensating for his lack of strength in the power by using gateways in unusual and unconventional ways. So he uses really small, precisely placed gateways to behead people. The best thing ever, you see them do this in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, the Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Where freaking oh god, what's his name? The dude that was the librarian in Doctor Strange.
Wong.
You see Wong like redirect Abomination's like punch back to his own face. Yeah. Andral does that with other people's attacks. Like he just opens a gateway in front of him so that their attack comes at them instead of hitting him. Like it is defense and offense all in one, and it's fantastic. And then he'll like open gateways underneath his foes so that they wind up falling great distances. Matter of fact, actually, yeah, no, he uses like the same redirecting attacks to even redirect Balefire.
Yes.
Like that's fucking insane. Like Balefire is like the end all be all nuclear option, will destroy whatever. And Androl's just like, oh me, you meant over there?
I got the Uno reverse card, motherfucker.
Like that has to create like an absolute time paradox if you Balefire yourself. So you burn yourself back in the pattern before you ever Balefired yourself. Like, does that just make a massive hole in the fabric of space-time? Like, that's a glitch.
Yeah, that's gotta be. I love when Andral comes to Talmanes and is like, hey, just so you know, I have a couple of things. They're experimental, but if you're down, Talmanes is like, I'm listening. Tell me more. And they come up with one of them. We will get to the lava, Beth and Wolfie. We'll get there. Oh my God. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. Thank you for making sure we didn't forget because we totally would have. But he comes to Talmanes and he's like, this like last battle, everybody's going at it. Aerith is tired, and the cannons have almost been routed. The dragons have almost been routed like 4 times at this point in time. And Andrel's like, hey, I've got an idea. It's unconventional, but if you're down, we can do this. And Talmanes is like, let's fucking go. Which, by the way, Talmanes should be the next great captain. Talmanes is the best. Beth Doman has nailed it. Talmanes is also another universally loved character. And if you do not love Talmanes, you are a dark friend. And I will also say, as we have said before, Talmanes has a crush on Matt, but that's a different episode. That's when Andrel's like, I found a cavitation under a mountain. It's just a huge cave with no access points. I can teleport you guys all in there, and then we can just gateway open and blast the ever-loving hell out of the enemy from a place of perfect safety. And Talmanes is like, hell yeah. Can you imagine being the cannoneer on that detail, though? Like, the VA would be paying for total hearing loss.
Oh yeah, no, it's great, but the tinnitus and hearing loss is fucking horrible.
You're so done.
Bruh.
Hey, did you serve in the last battle? What?
Huh?
Did you serve in the last battle? Oh yeah.
No, I don't need a water bottle. Yeah, bruh. Because I think in that passage they even mention how like everybody's ears are ringing just because of but you know the VA would be like, it's not service connected. You didn't wear your 3M faulty plugs.
You're broke. You're just not broke enough.
Yeah.
What medical attention are you seeking for that tinnitus?
How are you treating your tinnitus?
What is there to treat? And by the way, any representatives of VA, like, seriously, do better. You guys suck.
So, we'll get to the lava later because I want to kind of save that because that is really cool. So he's well traveled before he gets to the farm or the Black Tower, and has a ton of life experience. It's implied that he spent some time with Jane Farstrider. And he had spent years learning a number of different trades and had just all this practical knowledge. Like he was a well-rounded, traveled, knowledgeable person. And he wound up getting treated like a leader whenever Logain wasn't around. At the point where we have like the Logain faction and the Taim faction. And he's definitely pretty humble about it because he's like, I don't understand why these people defer to me. They're so much stronger than I am. Which is one of the things I love about what it says about the Black Tower, is that they defer to people with the knowledge and know-how to be useful, not to people just because they happen to be stronger in the power, just because they happen to be, born with that ability to use more of it than other people can. Which I love. Because that was one thing I always hated when I was was having to defer to the brand new like first or second or first lieutenant that graduated the like tech school of whatever the career field, but had no idea how to actually really do the job. But their training told them that you should do it this way, and they thought they were always right and could never be wrong. And so you got like everybody else that actually does the job telling them like, yeah, like, but you can do it this way. No. The reg says step 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to do it that way. And it's like we're running an exercise. We're not fixing a jet. Like if you're talking about like fixing a jet, absolutely, yeah. Follow the damn guidebook,
step by step.
Yeah, but that's not what we're doing. Like we're figuring out ways to employ security for an area that we don't have enough people to cover. Like the book assumes you have enough people to cover. Like you got to think outside the box.
He definitely brings, it's fun because I'll never forget reading Andrel's character for the first time and hearing his story talking about, he was the guy that he's been everywhere. He's seen everything. He's done everything.
He's been
And
everywhere,
he
man.
went
Cross the
diving
mountains
with
bare,
the
man.
sea folk. He worked as a tradesman in like 20 different trades. He just when you think you got a beat on the guy, another story pops up and you're like, wait, you did that too? Like he's like Christopher Lee, the actor Christopher Lee, who
Mhm.
was a Bond villain, was a vampire, and during filming of Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson is trying to like give him tips on what it's supposed to sound like when you get stabbed in the back, and he's like, have you ever heard someone get stabbed in the back? And Peter Jackson was like, no. And then he goes on to talk about some pieces of World War II that he was a part of, because apparently he was also in MI6. And he was like, it's so when you stab someone in the back, it doesn't sound like this. Oh, it sounds like this. And it's like, I feel like that's Androl. Androl's like, we'll just bust out with some stupid ass information that everybody's like, no. If we go over here and do this, then it's going to happen like this. And Androl's like, actually, no, that's a myth. And everybody's like, what the hell, dude? Just when we thought you couldn't do any more. And that's Androl. He's done everything. He's been everywhere. And as a result, he's cultivated a vast amount of wisdom that is unprecedented at this time in the Black Tower. How about that? That's a good way to say it, I think.
Yeah. So Androl does suffer from some degree of madness from the taint. If he holds Sidene too long, he starts to see shadows crawling from dark corners towards him. So waking paralysis demons, I guess. He does fall under the Loghain faction at the Black Tower, which is first suspicious. And then, well, the whole faction. What? Why was it written like that? I don't know why I was just reading it as written. That annoys me now.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. Don't talk about a person and then immediately talk about like, oh, the faction feels this way. Like, no, like we don't need to do that. Anyway, Loghain is impressed by Androl's ability with gateways and is like, oh, that's pretty cool and useful. Taim, on the other hand, is like, this is impossible. Like, no, you're full of shit. You're hiding your power somehow or something. Like, Taim completely just undercuts it and thinks it's useless. But does use it for like its ability to like be a transporter and messenger, which results in most of Taim's faction, who again doesn't respect anybody else that's not in their faction in the Black Tower, much less Androl. And they just start calling him Page Boy because they basically like treat him like he's, some errand squire for a night that just is good for nothing other than carrying messages and goods. He's like a glorified pack mule in their mind.
Yeah. Well, and the tragic part here is Taim already has examples of success when it comes to forcing or pressuring Androl into being stronger, quote unquote, because Androl is, I believe, the one example we get of a male Wilder with a block. Androl, when he first comes to the tower, can't channel at all without holding a strap of leather.
Unless he's holding leather,
Unless he's got leather in his hand, he cannot channel at all. And I think Taim gets through the block just by beating the shit out of him.
Oh yeah. No. They beat the fuck out of him
until he, in a survival.
They basically, I mean, they kink shame him out of his block. Like he's just that far into leather play and being
Androl's
being the dominant one. Yeah, that's it. He's a leather daddy, and Taim is like, no, not in my house. I'll have none of that strap and slap here.
Strap and slap.
Yeah.
Looks like you've been rode hard and hung up wet.
Well, yes. How else do you cure leather? Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. I don't actually know, but Androl knows.
Androl knows.
He's been fingering that leather for a long time. Oh God.
Uh, I
That is
love
grossly
that
inappropriate.
in all the trades, like just this line of conversation. In all the trades, that's the one that he was like, you know what, this one just feels right. I do have to say though, we
He's
cannot
like
continue
Bobby
on.
Boucher is with water, but Androl's that way about leather.
Yes.
Yeah. That's some high quality cowhide. It's
I
still
feel like
soft.
we can't do this without addressing the fact that Androl actually has a heartbreaking tale. When the reason, oh God, he's such a well-written character. It's so amazing because you have an example of someone who is searching for something, right? It's not he didn't go out and learn 15 different trades because he thought it would be a fun thing to do or because he had ADHD and just couldn't focus on something. He was on a mission. He was searching for something and didn't really even know what that something was until he came to the Black Tower. He was close with leatherwork, but then when Rand announced his amnesty and said, "Hey, if you can channel, come to the tower," and he went, "Oh no," because there's a deep dark secret in Androl's family, and that's that Androl's father could channel, and when he learned he could channel, he threw himself off a cliff. Like it was a straight up, "Hey, daughter, wife, I learned that I can channel today. I shall be throwing myself off a cliff." And as horrible as that is, this is, and we've talked about this before, this has spawned conversations about, people who don't want to live. And, when your options are end now with your sanity intact or end later and you have a chance of hurting those people around you. I mean, I think a lot of us would choose to not hurt the people around us that we love. And it's a real difficult position to be in. But I feel like it's one of those positions that our grandparents, our great grandparents, they live with kind of on the daily, where they go, "I don't want to be a burden on my family. I don't want to be a cause of stress and strain on my family, especially not after a lifetime of being a provider for them." And so it's a real serious, sobering conversation. And
But to put
yeah,
in a slightly more positive light, the same mentality that would have justified, in his mind, Androl's father just yeeting off a cliff is a lot of times the same mentality behind folks, like the generations that are, or the individuals that volunteered to join the military in like World War I, World War II, uh, and many of the other wars we've ever been in, and generally speaking, at least a fair amount that volunteer to join the military now have some degree of that mindset that they're willing to make a sacrifice to better or defend or save the lifestyle of the people around them, the people they care about. So that's just a more generic example. You like join the military because you're willing to make that sacrifice if it comes to it. Um, versus Androl's dad being like, well, I'm making this decision to protect my family. Like it's not like I
yeah,
don't want to be here anymore. It's definitely like my being
yes,
here
yes,
is a guaranteed danger and detriment to my family and will ostracize us forever. The
right.
best thing I can do is, disappear.
And,
So,
and this isn't okay. And I feel like we need to have a sidebar real quick because I recognize that this is a very volatile subject. And I recognize that you out there listening, yes, you, okay, I need you to hear me right now. You will have moments in your life. Maybe you have that moment right now. You will have moments in your life where you feel like you're a burden on everybody around you. You feel like the world would be better off without you. And I promise you that is not the case. This is the Wheel of Time. We will talk about Androl's father making the right decision because he would go mad and murder everyone around him. And that actually is a burden. You know, is it the right decision? I think it's the decision I probably would make in the same situation, but I can't give anybody else advice and say he made the right decision. It's something that everybody's got to figure out for themselves. But this is real life, and that's not the option for you. It's
I
not the
think
option
in
for
those
anybody.
like
Wake up
say it
every
was
morning
a,
and keep kicking because, yeah, whatever you're going through right now, this too shall pass.
I mean, I think for Androl's dad, rather than it being the right decision, it was a very understandable decision.
That's a better way to say it. Thank you.
Because they're also like there generally there were no alternates for men that could channel really.
Yeah.
You either went insane and hurt the people around you and caused a whole bunch of problems, or best case scenario, you burned yourself out, and if you didn't die in that process, generally you didn't survive much long after, or you got caught and gentled, and it was guaranteed that you would be beyond depressed and miserable and go the same way eventually anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it was a very understandable decision to make in a time where his condition didn't have any kind of medical care or treatment or anything like that that could help.
That's a good way to say it.
So, yeah, like understandable decision. Whether it's right or not is up in the air. I mean, I'm in the camp that that decision is never the right decision.
Sure. Well, and that's
Um,
that's why I said that was a better way to word it. It was an understandable decision.
yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't mean to insinuate that I thought Josh was saying that sometimes it's the right decision. I mean,
Sure.
and some people do feel that way, and that's fine if you do. I personally don't. I don't think it's the right decision, but
Right.
you know,
It's
that's
just a
just
hard
me.
place to be. That's the point. It's just a tough place to be. Andrel's father, did what he did, and whether or not we agree with it, that's what happened. And Andrel himself kind of went looking for something, maybe vindication, maybe relief, maybe he wasn't quite sure. I love that Wolf Brother brought it up when we were talking about Andrel cliff diving with the sea folk. He did. He dived off of the highest cliffs and like gained a lot of honor, like as a fearless person, and gained a lot of notoriety with the sea folk for that reason. But it was straight up, hey, either I die or I find my purpose. Like I that piece of my life is unfulfilled, and I will continue to do things no matter how extreme they are in order to find that piece of my life and be fulfilled as a person. And then I think the amnesty gets proclaimed throughout the land, and he goes, well, I mean, I jumped off the highest cliffs. I've worked in all I was on season 4 of Deadliest Catch. I've done all this other stuff. Like, why not? Let's go check this out and see what it was. And I'll bet, if anything, that was probably one of the most bittersweet moments of his life. I feel like, he found home, but he also found home in a literal asylum. And that can't feel good.
Yeah. So we're gonna run through some of what Androl does beyond this relatively quickly and with some brevity to it, so we can get through it.
Right.
Androl winds up unintentionally and still confused by why they follow him, building a bit of a resistance in the tower that's resisting the Tying faction. He winds up talking with Pravara, who is a Red Aja sister from the White Tower. and they kind of start talking about everything that's going on, and that Pravar believes that the suspicious changes in behavior of other Ashaman is them being turned to the shadow. And she starts teaching Andral how to link. It is successful. Andral is now suddenly flooded with a large amount of the power. He can do a whole bunch of stuff now. So he starts moving stuff. Pavara kind of freaks and bonds him out of pure fear. He retaliates and bonds her back. So it is the first known of this age reciprocal bonding event, and now they can hear each other's thoughts. They know what each other is thinking rather than just generic feelings. After this, Evan Vinkova enters and tells them that Wayland Kajima and his Aes Sedai Janeer Balmian have returned to the Black Tower. However, his eyes are no longer his own, which confirms for them that Wayland has been turned, and they realize that Taim at this point must have Logain captured. They plan a whole bunch of like traps, and they're going to try to capture the turned Ashaman that they can and get to Logain, set him free. There's a whole struggle back and forth where Pravara manages to shield two other Ashaman and trips up the third, who's trying to escape, and Andral knocks two of them out with a cudgel, and they're doing all of this stuff, and it looks like they're going pretty well. And they sedate the three members of Taim's faction, and so this is when they're rescuing Logain. Eventually, they do make their way in. They reach Logain. They find that he's captive and alive, but Taim shows up with more of his own men, and they kind of reveal their plan that they're there to turn as many of the Ashaman to the shadow as they can, to aid the Dark One in the last battle. And they wind up knocking, like, they bring the roof down on everybody and knocks everybody pretty much unconscious. To the point where Andral wakes up and he can't channel, finds out that Nalam has died in the cave-in, and that the plan again still was to turn them all to the shadow. And Aveen is taken away first and comes back pretty quickly after, changed. And this just kind of keeps going back and forth. Andral notices a couple different things. But now Andral is able to try to channel again. And he tries to create a gateway. But the weaves keep slipping away. And he thinks it's his weak abilities, but it's actually the dream spike blocking gateways. The dream spike that's been put in place in I think this one was put in place in Teleron Riyadh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So with this done, like, Taim doesn't even bother to shield Andral, and instead he's like, I'll just Balefire your ass. And Andral weaves a small gateway that absorbs the Balefire in spite of the dream spike, which saves his life just as the rest of the Two Rivers folks show up to rescue them. And you find out that Canfear has rushed to Andral, telling him that they have come because they heard him pleading for help through a tiny, tiny gateway. So full-on battle begins. You got Murdral, you got Hessalam, which, is the best headache masseuse this side of Saladin.
That's right.
And Taim. And suddenly, Andral is able to weave gateways again, and he uses them to their full and innovative effect, turning their attackers' channeling back against them by placing a gateway in front of the attack and then behind the attacker. He also sends Logain off to a safe place. Taim and Hessalam escape. Andral manages to kill several of the Darkfins by putting a big-ass gateway beneath them, and they just fall several hundred feet. And then later, Logain, after learning of everything, promises to promote the previously demoted from dedicated to soldier Andral, promote him to full Ashaman. Because it's after that promotion or that demotion to soldier that Andral realizes that everything he's been looking for in his life, going around trying to master these different trades and skills, the Black Tower is what he's been searching for. Andral and Pravara are the kind of liaisons that welcome the White Tower delegation that has come to bond Ashaman in kind of response to the Ashaman bonding the sisters that came from the true White Tower, not the Saladar White Tower. There's only 47 men that are there that don't actually mind being bonded. And so this kind of goes through. And now they're just kind of getting ready to go join the last battle. Andral's a little concerned that maybe Rand knew about the trap in the Black Tower and just decided not to help them, but it's kind of hard to know about traps in a place you never are. So there's that. And he kind of like reiterates that they are not minions, that they're not minions of the Dragon Reborn or the White Tower. Their allegiance is only to the Black Tower itself.
I love this too. This is another great Andral moment, because once again, he is someone who commands respect and leadership because of the significant content of his character, and ends up being the catalyst that leads the resistance against Taim in the Black Tower, thus taking the Black Tower back from the shadow and kind of giving themselves their own little mark of legitimacy, right? Because, I mean, I feel like it would have been easy for Rand to swing in and be like, hey, Taim, pew pew, you're a dick. Don't do that anymore. And then everyone could have been like, yay. But I feel like it's like in real life, you're so much more invested in something when you have to work for it. When you have to work for it, when you have to fight for it, when you have to bleed and sweat and cry for it, you are so much more invested. You take so much more ownership in that. And I feel like this is just a great example of how that should have gone in order to give the Black Tower its spine, so to speak, to give it its own sort of self-importance, to say, no, we fought to be here. Yeah, the dragon gave us the opportunity, but we gave us a place at the table. Yeah. We gave ourselves a spot on the map.
And I think that kind of is Andral's story, is realizing that this is what he's been looking for, that he, it's one of those like kind of quintessential like fantasy. It's a Hallmark story thing, right?
Yeah, it really is.
I never knew that what I needed was something I wasn't even looking for all along. The very thing I was running away from was the thing I needed all along. It's a very Hallmark story. It's in some degree it's almost like a Confucius style thing. Like,
you're not
he
wrong.
who seeks to avoid his destiny often causes it to happen, kind of thing with Andral. Like, if you're trying to avoid anything to do with channeling saidin, and you wind up being like a pivotal point in like think about everything that would have gone wrong and not happened had Andral not been able to rescue Logain.
Yeah.
And I mean, even from that, think about that. So in the last battle, Elaine Trakan's section of the armies, even though she's the overall chief commander of the military forces, the ones that she's directly in charge of at the battlefield at Kyrian are being pressed. They're about to break, and if they break, like, it's gonna be fucking horrible, because they've already lost Caemlyn at this point. They can't afford to also lose Kyrian. And in comes Andral and Logain and all of the other men who fought to hold the Black Tower. And they show up and they form a circle, because now that they have Elaine there, they can form a circle, because men can't leak with men, to produce, and the verbiage used is one miracle to try to turn the tide. And this is hold on, let me find it. This is the lava moment, where Andral uses the power from the link to channel, and even for his talent, extremely large gateway above the Trolloc army. And the other side of that gateway is in the magma bowels of Dragonmount.
I love it.
And it's not just like lava, like, well, I mean, it's now lava once it comes through the gateway. It's the magma before. It's not like it just oozes out. Like, it's all the pressure of all the magma inside of Dragonmount that comes roaring out of this massive gateway. And it doesn't just like severely weaken the Trolloc army. It doesn't just get rid of half. It completely annihilates an entire Trolloc army by itself.
Yes.
And
Yes, it does.
it's wild. It's wild. And at the end of all the battle, once all the battles are wrapped up, Logain, who is now the de facto Mahale, holds his promise and promotes Andral to full-fledged Ashaman.
Well, isn't it Andral also that tells Logain it's time to break the seals? Like, Andral's the one who recognizes the signs and is like, nope, it's time. You need to do this. It's time to do this. And is the one who helps facilitate the overall victory.
Yeah. Well, because they come up with the idea that Andral and Pravara come up with the idea to use the Mask of Mirrors Weaves to change Andral's appearance
right
to look like one of Taim's men, to go and try to get one of the pouch that Taim has holding the seals to the Dark One's prison. And they go forward with it, get there, and in an absolute twist of fate, Taim uses the Mask of Mirrors on the disguised Andral to make the disguised Andral look like Andral.
Like Andral!
And tells him to go back to Logain's camp and kill Logain. And so Andral, who's like, oh shit, I'm caught, how am I going to go back? Literally gets told, I'm just going to make you look like who you actually are that I don't know. Go back and kill Logain. And he just struts out of the enemy encampment. He goes back looking like Andral. And you know Logain and them are like, oh shit, they caught you. How did you escape? And it's like, well, actually,
see what had happened.
They thought I was Steve, and then they wanted to make Steve look like Andral, so they sent me back. Good. I'm a dude disguised as a dude disguised as another dude.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
It's fucking wild.
That's so good. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Oh god. And, yeah, and look, there's so many reasons to love Andral, and there's not a single reason to not love him. So if you don't love him, just admit that you hate fun, and let's be done with it.
I mean, we can't all have Pavara's judgment, can we?
Look, Pavara is another one that I absolutely love. She is a paragon of awesomeness in the Red Aja, which historically has not been awesome. So
it's a bright light in a sea of very red darkness.
That was nicely put.
So, and then to round out Andral's feats, Pavara looks at him and says, well, Mask of Mirrors worked great once already. Let's fucking do it again.
I'll do it again.
And they do it again to make Andral look like Rand, so that he can fool Alviarin, Mistral, and the rest of their group into giving chase after who they think is Rand.
Oh, that's right.
And they chase him all the way into Stedding Sholun, where they are then captured and kept by the Ogier. And I love the last little 3 words of the synopsis. Presumably for decades.
Good.
Like,
good.
oh, look at me, I'm Rand. And you know, like, as soon as, because the Mask of Mirrors dissolves as soon as you walk into a steading.
Yeah.
He, like, walks across and
Oh
just,
my
like,
God. Can
fades
you
away.
imagine how stupid you'd feel? Ha ha! We've got
Yeah.
him now. Oh shit.
Oh, look at that. Rand just running around randomly in the middle of a battle-torn area when he should be fighting the ultimate evil. Look at us. We're going to get so many brownie points for catching it. What happened to his face?
Oh no. Oh
It's like
no.
that soundbite. Like, where
You know
your
what they
clothes at?
You know what they probably did is they probably, when he changed, they were probably like, haha, disguising yourself won't fool us. We've seen you change. Mwahaha. And then by the time they got in there, it was too late.
Where's my magic?
Oh shit. You're out of spell slots. Motherfucker.
Oh man.
Awesome. No, for real though. I mean, final thoughts on Androl. He's someone that I once bragged about filing 14 W-2s on my taxes one year because I had that many jobs and it was fun. That was a great year. That was one of the best years of my life. I learned so many different things. It was awesome. And I'm happy about that. I'm proud of that. I think everybody should have a year like that in their youth. And when I read about Androl and he had, you know, all these different life experiences and all these different trades that seemingly had nothing to do with themselves, and then come to find out he was just searching for home the whole time, it'll pluck the heartstrings, and I love it. And I've always felt sort of an affinity or a kinship to Androl. I love him. He is a great character, a great leader, and my only complaint is that we didn't get more of him in the books.
Oh, it's my
And
turn.
that's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that. Androl's one of those characters that I think you always know that you really enjoy and love, but it's easy to forget some of the elements, unfortunately, that make you love Androl. Like, you know, you love him because of, like, just his, well, for once, other than its rocky start, the relationship between Androl and Pavara is like the only non-toxic, non-fucky, like, what's going on relationship in the Wheel of Time. Like, the other than maybe like Lan and Nynaeve, but there's fuckery with that one a little bit. But Androl and Pavara, rocky start, but it's a true love. It's an earnest love. It's a built love that you get to see kind of happen. It's not toxic and horrible. Great. But there's all these little things that Androl does and how he and Pavara interact with the world around them that just kind of endear him to all of us, I think. So, because, yeah, fine. He may be a bit of a one-trick pony. It's a pretty fucking versatile trick.
He's the personification of the Bruce Lee quote. I fear not the man who has practiced 1,000 techniques one time. I fear the one who has practiced one technique 1,000 times.
Yeah. He looked at the phrase Jack of many trades, master of none, and just reversed it.
Yep. He
Jack
says,
of
I can't break rocks
master of
with the
any."
rest of the soldiers, but I'll gateway the shit out of anything that moves.
Hey. He made better blocks for the wall than any of the others did, channeling, because you can't beat the atomic level slicing of a gateway.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, he even talks about that with the whole cutting of the leather. He's like, wow, that cuts so cleanly.
Like, yeah, I would hope so. It's a literal rip in space time, but all right. I mean, what do you use your ability to rip space time for? Oh, to trim my belt when I lose weight. But so
Naturally.
that's been yeah. That's been our background breakdown of Androl. What are your favorite parts about Androl? What are some cool things that you remember Androl doing or seeing Androl doing in the books? And if you're listening to this in the future, whenever we get Androl on the TV show, let us know what you loved about him doing in the TV show
Ooh.
whenever that happens. If we missed anything, please again let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy what we do here at Black Tower Podcast. Leave a like, turn on the notification bell, share the episode however you can. It all helps out here. And again, head on over to blacktowerpod.com for all of our other fun, fantastic stuff. But for all of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, I have been your Bajan Mahel Andrew.
I have been your Sorovan Mahale, Josh. We thank you for tuning in and listening to this week's episode. We thank you for watching this week's episode. We thank you for receiving this week's dose of taint in a manner becoming a member of the Black Tower. And oh, by the way, all of you are now members of the Black Tower. Welcome. Thank you for joining the Black Tower. As a member of the Black Tower, you must show your loyalty to the Black Tower by hitting the thumbs up button and hitting the subscribe button. You know you want to anyway. It's super easy to do. We hope that wherever you are, you leave here just a little bit more insane than you were when you first got here. Thank you. And have a glorious evening or morning or